y'all. This is Kobe R. Rice, and I wanted to welcome you guys back to the epic fantastical journey of a Black female sci-fi writer. Is that even the name of my podcast? Anyway, it's that kind of day, guys. Okay, it is that kind of day. So I am back again for my weekly creative update, and I am actually broadcasting. This is going to be a really short podcast today because I have to run and go to a show. Not my theater show, but another colleague's theater show. But speaking of my theater show, I wanted to give you guys a super quick short update. This is going to be a short podcast today for a variety of reasons. One, because there's been a lot going on this week, but not too many things going on in terms of the number of things, but the magnitude of the things happening is pretty huge. So that's one reason why it's going to be short. And the other is because I'm just going to try again to make slightly shorter podcasts. I sort of don't want to, honestly, but I still want to try to get into the practice of doing so. So this week has been a really tiring, exhausting, semi-stressful, but also exhilarating week. And as you guys know, a big reason for that is because my theater show that I co-directed with my two other colleagues has opened officially this week. We wrapped our rehearsal on Wednesday. We opened on Thursday, and it has just been a really wonderful experience. Like I said to you guys on the last couple of podcasts, while there were some bumps in the road with regard to this particular project, and many of those bumps just go along with the territory of putting up a production, because putting up a production is actually really hard, no matter how big or small that production is. Despite all the challenges and the bumps, so to speak, we had a really successful opening, full house, I believe. The audience responded really well to the plays and the pieces. The actors were amazing. You know, their energy was just on 1,000 that night. And I also had the privilege and the honor of leading the post-show talkback for the opening night, which was really exhilarating. It was great. I really enjoyed the end product of all of our hard work, in addition to the process that got us here. But in particular, I enjoyed opening night the most. You know, I came looking very good and very cute. I felt like I was on celebrity status, even though I wasn't. It's just how I felt, you know, by the way that I was just treating the night. This is the second opening I've ever had of any show ever. And so I was actually, fortunately, because I had different management this time around, was actually able to enjoy the process of making theater and actually look forward to seeing the fruits of my labor on opening night. Whereas with last semester, I was excited to see my work on stage, but as you guys know very well, a lot of my excitement and anticipation was dampened and kind of stomped on by the very harrowing process that we went through to get it on stage. So this was just a great opportunity to redo that feeling, that first time feeling. And I'm really, really excited about what the end product was, how much I've grown through the process. I love that my actors not only did a great job, but felt empowered to talk about in front of an audience that they didn't even know what the challenges were with working with me. So I give my actors a lot of agency and power on the stage. And it's not because I don't have a vision, but it's just because I feel as though my actors tend to know the characters and the emotions better, being that they live inside of the heads of these characters. So I like to give my actors room to explore character development and things like that, as opposed to having a pre-made blocking plan completely done out that's inflexible. So I sort of fall somewhere in the middle. I'll have a blocking plan and a blocking scheme going on, but then on the other end of the spectrum, sometimes I'll just say, let's just explore this and find out where it's going. And so it was fun doing it. I think it helped my actors to really learn how to explore character, but it was also frustrating for my actors. And that was really great to hear from my actors, very, in a very frank and candid way, what their experiences were, both in the good and for the bad. And it helped me to understand sort of more what I need to bring to the table as a director. So I loved it. I mean, there was praise, but there was also constructive criticism, and I am here for it. You guys know, to the best of my ability, I try to really invite critique, analysis, and constructive building of my process and of my skills. So I know that I can do things to make the process better in the future, and I'm going to do that. So that's really great, and I'm glad that my actors felt empowered to talk about those, all of their challenges and the bright spots. So I felt as though, even though the weekend is not quite over, it's actually Sunday, 12:46 p.m. that I'm recording this right now, and the last show of this particular piece is opening again at 2 p.m. So today's 2 p.m. matinee is going to be the last final opportunity for anybody to see this in vivo. And unfortunately, I can't make that matinee. I have to go to another colleague's show. But I'm really happy with the performances. I also discovered that being a director and watching a final performance is actually really hard, because the entire time, you know sort of what your direction has been, what your actors can do, what their capacities are, and if they're missing a line, if they're not bringing out the character, if they're not projecting. These are things you're usually able to shout out or stop, a rehearsal and say, hold, I need you to work on this and that and the third. But with a final performance, you can't do that, because this is a performance for the audience. And so what I found is that being a director and knowing the piece inside and out, knowing the blocking, knowing all those things, is actually a weakness when it comes to me translating myself back into an audience member, because I know every single spot where there was an error made, or where I felt like an actor wasn't doing his or her best or whatever. And it's just not to critique the performances of the actors. They really are doing a wonderful job. But you know how hard you push your actors in rehearsal. And so sometimes you are sitting there as a director being like, you know what, this is good, but I know you guys can do 10 times better on whatever that there is that they're, falling short on or whatever. So this is not a critique, but I'm just reflecting on what it means to be a director and watching your final piece unfold, right? So that's one of the harder parts of going to an opening show or what have you. It can be pretty nerve-wracking, but your experience is going to be completely different from an audience member's experience, because they don't know anything. And that's sort of the great magical part about theater, is that even though there is a perfect script, a perfect performance, the audience doesn't necessarily know where that bar is. They only know where their personal bars are. So, the actors have a little bit more leeway to, be human and make mistakes or, stumble, which is great. So those are some interesting challenges, but I'm really happy with this final piece. I'm happy with the process. As I said, I've grown, I've learned so much. There was a point at which, honestly, though, this week that I was really pushed to the edge by certain things that were happening. And, I guess it was my time to have my own mini meltdown. Not that I really melted down per se, but I had just shut down emotionally. I said, I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do theater, and everybody leave me alone. That's how upset I was at this particular situation that was happening. And I had at one point said, you know what, I am never going to work in the medium of theater ever again. But I got over it after we were able to resolve that little conflict. And I realized that, not that I realized it, but it just became more affirmed to me that I do want to direct and write full time. Writing novels, writing screenplays, writing television, and not necessarily writing dramatic pieces for the stage per se, like for experimental theater or new plays, but I would love to write and direct musicals. That's sort of that's where I would love to build my wheelhouse. And I can see myself directing musicals, whether they're my own that I write or, others that I commission for a particular theater. I would love to do that. Absolutely, 1,000%. So, so yeah, I mean, I decided that basically I am going to stay sort of in the theater scene. I wonder why this movie camera is not working so good. Sorry guys, if the camera's messing up, it's because there's something happening. Like there's something really weird going on with my camera. So sorry about that. But I definitely want to be a director for the theater, for musical theater in particular. And I'm actually looking for musical theater classes, not necessarily programs per se, but classes wherein I can learn how to write lyrics and like a fully fledged 3-hour musical, compose music and things like that. That'll be a casual thing that I'll do on the side, but I do want to build my skills in that, in addition to building my skills as a film director and a TV director. So, yeah, it's just been really great. And I'm so glad I'm able to bring you guys this good news about my progress with regard to directing, as opposed to the news that I brought you guys months ago in around, April, May about, being in theater, which was not so great. So that was the biggest thing that happened this week, the opening of the show. Marketing for Uprising, that 12-book anthology I was telling you guys about, has pretty much diminished down to a trickle because our launch is over. But it did really great, really well. It's still available at Amazon.com. Definitely check it out in the description box below and link to it. I will link to it rather. And we've pretty much just, for me, gotten back on track with regular newsletter swaps and things like that with other authors. Which I have some really interesting ones coming up, including a really sexy sci-fi fantasy giveaway box, which I will be featuring on behalf of another author. I'm not going to reveal her name or what the gift box includes, but she put together some really awesome swag for her own series, and I'm really excited to offer it to you guys. So stay tuned for that. That'll be mid-November that you guys will hear more about that. Writing and world building. So as you guys know, I have a co-writing collaboration coming up with one of my other former colleagues, JT Lawrence, who's amazing. And she and I have been on multiple projects together at this point. And we also did the 2054 anthology launch a few months ago. And so, like I told you guys before, we have now both been able to achieve entry to the it's like a 20 to 24 author urban fantasy action box set that's going to be aiming for the USA Today bestsellers list. And she pitched her ideas, I pitched my ideas, and we're going to do a co-written project together, which will probably turn into a series because you guys know I don't like wasting IPs. And so that's really exciting. We have a timeline set up and everything. So that is getting started. We've already started those conversations. We lined out everything we have to do. And now it's just time to start building the world, outlining and writing. And I'm really excited about that. Let's see. Grad school and teaching in general. Same old. I pretty much have cracked the code on not being crazy in graduate school, which is taking a step back and treating yourself well and doing one thing or a couple of things each day towards a goal. Just break it down more easily. It's a lot easier to follow that very simple formula. It seems like it's not that ingenious. It's really common sense, but it's hard to sometimes activate common sense when you're drowning in 50 million things to do. But now that this semester has pretty much lightened significantly, I'm able to now work on my homework, my grading, and my Shakespearean master's thesis every single day, one little bit at a time. And so I feel much more confident as to where those projects will be going and where they will end up toward the end of the semester. And the great thing is that I formed a master's thesis writing group with another colleague of mine. So that will be really helpful in helping me to get my dramaturgical and narrative analysis of Shakespeare's Roman history tetralogy done and completed and really just on point. So I have a lot of really great plans as to how I'm going to break down this 4-play series and how I'm going to present this breakdown to the faculty committee. Because ultimately, as I explained to you guys before, not only am I trying to figure out what the cohesive story threads and character arcs are throughout these plays, but once I figure out all those things and I'm able to generate interstitial material where necessary, then I can adapt all 4 of these plays into a TV series or a movie series or what have you, which is pretty exciting, right? So that's really great. And as usual, took time for myself to make sure that my glow up was maintained, my self-care is maintained. That's really important. Not just because I'm a graduate student, but just as I said before, as a mom and as a woman, just taking care of yourself, loving yourself. Those are all really wonderful things to do for yourself. And I've just decided I'm not going to stop doing those things no matter what's going on. So that's been really wonderful. And that's basically it, guys. Like I said, it was going to be really, really short. Nothing too crazy and intense. The biggest accomplishment this week definitely was the opening of the show and the fact that I have officially decided that I do want to be a musical theater director. In addition to being an action, sci-fi, and horror film and TV director. So hopefully the path that I'm trying to take is supported by the universe and by my professional network, and we'll see where it goes. But I'm really excited. The most exciting part about that realization is that I've made it now that I've made that realization now that I have more time to pursue those interests. So that's really exciting, and I'm just amped to be able to keep taking my courses for my creative uni outside of my master's program and use all of my online courses and in-person courses toward developing myself as a director. So that's basically it, guys. This podcast was originally going to be called Goodbye Theater, My Old Frenemy, but I think that this podcast will now be entitled Hello Theater, You Are Awesome. Okay, because you can see how quickly my mood has shifted from the beginning of the week to this part of the week. But that's just been my journey, and it is what it is. So good news all around. I will be getting back on the podcast as soon as possible with my second quadrimester update, meaning that I will be letting you guys know what I have been up to and what I have accomplished between May 1st, 2018 of this year, all the way up to September 30th of 2018 this year. So, actually, no, it's not September. It would be August. Wait, May, June, July, August. Nope, September. No, May, June, July, August. Man, I can't count my quadrimesters. I need to get it together, y'all. Yes, it's going to be May 1st through August 31st. And then my last quadrimesterly update will be from September 1st all the way to December 31st. So I'm actually super late with getting this quadrimesterly update to you guys, and I apologize for that. But I will get this to you guys by tomorrow, which is Monday, October 8th. So just bear with me. I did achieve quite a bit this quadrimester, and I will also lay out once again my goals for the upcoming, the one that we're already in, the quadrimester we're already in. But until then, keep creating, keep it indie, stay badass, and I will talk to you guys next week, or rather tomorrow. Okay, bye.